Great. So I'm so happy to be welcoming one of my star clients, Cindy Ramirez. She was able to go from being laid off to getting her dream job within just 10 weeks. And, I always love chatting with her because of what she was able to do and how she's just a really fun person. So, Cindy, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you're doing now?
Sure. Well, my name is Cindy Ramirez. I moved to California to study a master's degree in journalism and multimedia communication. And then I started working in San Francisco. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, even though I was almost halfway through my master's degree. And then I just fell upon this multimedia class that started exploring user experience. But I didn't thought of it as a career at that point. So when I graduated and I started working, I managed to get a position that was somehow teaching me to do UX, but not fully. And when I decided I wanted to do UX, was unfortunately the time that my company let me go because they had some financial issues and they had to get rid of people, and I was one of the first to be removed from the team. Eventually, everybody else left, and well, the company doesn't exist anymore. So it was quite of a sad time, but meeting Lee allowed me to really put on my recharger and just change my mentality and decide that if I really wanted to do UX, it was the best time to start right now. So thank you, Lee, for that.
Well, awesome. This is about you, by the way. So I just want to make sure people know your story. So we're just talking about how you really enjoy your job. So can you tell us more what do you do on your job, and what do you do every day, and what do you love about it?
Well, my job now is as an user experience designer. That's my label as of my company right now, and it's the position that I was looking for. I didn't know much about UX before I moved to the United States. It wasn't a profession that I was considering before. So when I got here, I was thinking more of working in marketing and digital communication, and those skills turned out to be really helpful. But it wasn't until I really started talking to Leanne about how to transform myself, my skills, and what I've learned so far into the user experience field that I really found passion for what I'm doing right now. On a day-to-day basis, I construct workflows and do design for different interfaces. My product is an airline solutions product, and we work with multiple companies all around the world, all of them airlines. And in here, the team works with different products. My product particularly works in with what's called the legacy industry of airlines, and that's been really interesting. The company was a really well fit for me because I'm also passionate for the travel industry. So it was just a match, a perfect match. And one of the things that I really like about UX is that you get to be really involved with people. One of the key elements of user experience design is conducting research or interviews, any type of research. We could do interviews, we could organize complex studies, start with just talking to people and see how they're going to use the product, construct prototypes from there. And I really like that. And I didn't know that this could be so fulfilling until I started doing it. I wouldn't change my career as of now. It's also very involved with psychology, and it's something that I always liked, but I never really fully went on the study. And now that I'm doing that, I'm reading more about cognitive behavior and learning patterns, and it's been a really great experience for me. I wouldn't change my career at all at this point. I'm really satisfied where I am, and I want to keep growing in this field.
Wow, that's great to hear. So I think a lot of people are curious about people's background. So you said that you did move to the US. So can you tell us a little bit about what your background is and what you were doing before you moved here?
Yes, actually, part of what I did before moving to the US is one of the things that helped me land the position that I am right now. As an undergrad, I went to school for audiovisual communication, and I did courses in graphic design and audiovisual production. And those skills turned out to be really helpful as well to what I'm doing right now. A lot of the things that I learned in audiovisual production or in my undergrad as the graphic designer were to just make sure our visual aesthetics were not only satisfying and beautiful, but also that they could were able to transmit a message. So for UX, I shift that into make sure that whatever visuals we're showing in a screen or interface are well balanced, composed, clean, and allow the user to understand what they have to do. how do you sign in into a application, or how do you process or complete a payment or fill out the form. So all those things now are carefully crafted, and that's those skills that I learned in my undergrad as a graphic designer, and a couple of jobs that I took right out of college in graphic design were really key to make my transition to user experience. And I really didn't thought about using those skills when I moved to the US, because I wanted to pursue a degree in marketing and then multimedia communication. But once I was in Silicon Valley and I started looking at the industry and what was trending, what they were doing, how they were actually merging digital and art, that was an eye-opening for me. And I was halfway through my master's when I thought about doing the switch, but I didn't fully do it until actually after I graduated.
Wow, that's fascinating, because a lot of people, I don't think UX even existed like 20 years ago. So sharing your stories about how you had the background and you kept growing and developing, I think it gives a lot of people hope, right? Because there are people don't even know what to do after they graduate, maybe even a few years after. So I'm glad that you shared, like, you gradually found something. So that's great.
Yes.
So
I really think that that's really helpful. There's actually more people that are really, really involved with the what's called heuristics part of it, and with the human computer and ergonomics part of it, that do go to school for that. But I didn't know that career existed back in Mexico. So I found out this existed 3-4 years ago, not before. And from that point on, it's been just trying to learn more about it, because I didn't went to school for human factor and ergonomics.
yeah, it's great that you kind of learn on the job, and people may not know your dream job may not even be invented, right, until like a few years later. So that's great.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like forever ago, but I know it's been like 2015, like April, around that time that we worked together. And I know it was like a Friday afternoon, and it was like, a very tough, challenging time. So can you tell us what were you feeling like before you started to look for more help in your career?
Well, the opportunity that I took right after I graduated, I thought it was going to be a really good position, because it was user experience at the very entry level, but it was a merged position with social media marketing and customer support, because we were a small startup and we didn't have enough resources. So I thought I was going to learn a lot from the user experience part of it, but no, we didn't do a lot of user experience stuff as I was expecting. So even though I learned some stuff and I learned to manage or work with the product manager and with other designer at the company, I didn't grow as much as I wanted to. And because I was also the only one that spoke Spanish at that company, and we needed localization efforts, a lot of my work ended up being just translating. And I didn't feel passionate about that. So even though we tried to propose ways to improve the application and they were being taken into consideration, the company just didn't pick up as it was expected. And they had to make some adjustments, and one of them was just letting me go. And it was very depressing, because I thought I was doing a good job and thought I was learning, and I really just felt like I needed to do something, because I wanted to continue in this career path that I had chosen, and I had no idea where to go. So when I heard Lee talk, and when I saw her post and what she was proposing, which is basically just take your skills and make sure they help you build your career and find your dream job, I just felt motivated to reach out to her and see if she could be of help. And her words were just something that lifted me up. And I didn't thought I was going to be able to do it in the time frame that I did it, but I guess I just needed more help and somebody to listen to me and give me feedback. And Lee was just awesome at that. I really was surprised by myself and putting my portfolio together and making sure that the work that I did in the past, even though little, they showed something. They showed my skill. I didn't thought I could do it before talking to Lee. So her motivation was extremely important.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, and I think that one of the things is that I think coaching, I don't think people know what coaching is a lot of times, and you were trusting yourself enough to move forward with this. And that I was, very surprised about like how much commitment how you really like did everything that you needed to do. You took a job at Google to, approve apps, even though it was not the perfect one, but it kind of got you through to that next level. So the level of commitment and the level of just like relentlessly going after your goal, like you really do inspire me. For the people who are watching who are like not sure if they should get like career help, maybe they just want to know what coaching is like. So I think I tell them what it is, and I don't think they really know. They don't know until like they hear from someone else, right? So what was coaching like for you? Like maybe the good and the bad and the challenges. Maybe I'll learn something from this.
For me, it was just an interesting experience because even though my friends and family were really supportive, every time I tried to talk to them, I just felt like I was constantly disappointing them because days went by and I couldn't find a new role or a position. And I wasn't making it through my interviews, or I had one interview and then a follow-up interview, and then I couldn't land the role. And instead of being motivating, it started to become really something that was bringing me down. So talking to Lee was just getting a fresh pair of eyes and someone who was always championing. And I guess that just having that person not being someone you love or someone you've always been friends with, it became more like showing that I could do stuff that I do to someone that was there rooting for me. And it didn't feel like I was disappointing someone because she was just, if I did something wrong that week, or if I didn't feel like I was pushing to complete my goal, she was still uplifting. That was really helpful. I don't think the goals were too hard to achieve. I think it was just really not sure how to accomplish them. So Lee laid out the steps for me to really get small challenges day by day and then have something accomplished by the end of the week, which is I think something that I was lacking, because everybody that you love could tell you you can do it, and you're gonna get a job and you're just gonna find the perfect career and you've got perfect dream role. But if you don't have a plan, it gets challenging and overwhelming. And with Lee's help, I was able to manage to complete all the steps of that process.
Oh, thank you so much. So I think a lot of times I love the fact that you have a supportive family because, yeah, when we were talking, everybody was super supportive. But it was interesting because a lot of people that come to me, they don't have such supportive families. Like they just want them to go back to their home country, which is not bad. It's not their dream, right? So it's interesting to see from the point that with a supportive family, kind of a coach can help you up level. So that's great to know.
Yeah.
So what were some of the challenges that you felt like you had while you were going through the coaching?
I think that a lot of the challenges that I had is that I wasn't organized enough before to really go through the motions. And I guess just once you start going to school, or once you're really close to graduating and you have one job lined up, you think everything is gonna fall into place, and sometimes things don't. So you stop planning, or at least I stopped planning, which is something that I wouldn't recommend. I think people should always start planning their years or have cycles of what they want to achieve in 6 months, in 1 year, in 3 years. And I didn't thought that way before. So that was my biggest challenge, getting that mindset change of have a plan for what you really want to do. Don't just get a job and then go to your job day after day and pay your bills. And if you have time and you may be able to find another position, there's no such thing as it'll come eventually. Things come eventually if you start putting the steps or the blocks for them to really be there. So that was my biggest challenge, that mindset shift.
Oh, that's great. Cool. So let's talk about the other side. Like, what were some of your favorite wins from the coaching, and also, of course, the getting the job? I'd love to hear, like, what were some of your favorite?
Yeah. One of the greatest things that I remember that I wasn't preparing, I guess, well enough for interviews before was the mock interview that Lee did with me. Was extremely helpful because it really motivated me to find out more about the company that I was going to be interviewing with, what they were looking for in a candidate, and I wasn't doing that the right way, or I wasn't doing that at all before. So that really helped me, and I think that things that I just like is how well structured Liz plan is, or how well structured she shared that with me. One of the biggest eye openings was the week number one when we went, at least when Leah and I we spoke, we went through what I thought were my weaknesses. And a lot of my weaknesses were that I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do it, and I didn't want to disappoint people. So even if you don't have a supportive family, or if you have a supportive family, sometimes you don't want to disappoint yourself, but that is what you have to overcome. And Lee is extremely helpful with that. She does have great words of wisdom to push you through that process. So those were the things that I remember the most, because there really were eye openings for me in terms of how I was handling my career, that I didn't thought it was going to be such as huge of a help as it was, and it just was really incredible.
That's great. Wow, cool. So I think a lot of people watching by now, they're like, oh my God, how can I be more like Cindy? Like, how can I reach her level of success? So if people are like asking you, how can I do what you did? What advice would you give them?
I think that you should choose your victories, or small victories at a time. For example, for me, once I realized that I wanted to pursue UX, I realized that it wasn't so far away as to what I was doing. I mean, I didn't went from doing audiovisual communication and graphic design and learning about psychology to do neurosurgery or something like that. I did a transition that was achievable within my skills. If you are really in a career that's not fulfilling and that's really completely opposite way, maybe your transition would happen as like smoothly as mine did, but I don't think it's impossible. I think it's just putting down the plan and steps to do it. But for me, I think that what made it something achievable in the time frame that I had, or that I wanted to have done, was that I didn't realize that I had skills that were going to be helpful for the job that I wanted, until I started talking to Leah. She pushed me to, well, what is it that you want to do in UX? Have you researched what the job descriptions say? Have you done your work in learning what the industry is looking for in a candidate? And I hadn't. And then when I started doing that, I realized, well, I could do this job. I mean, I don't have to go to school again. I have the skills to do this job. I just need to get my portfolio, my stuff together, and just start knocking on the right doors.
That's awesome. And I'm so glad to be able to like witness your growth. So what is your next step for your career?
Well, now that I've been in this role for a year and a half, and with the years of experience that I have, including school, I want to move from a junior level position to a senior level position. So that is my goal this year. And even though I'm not really going to go all the weeks, meeting with Lee and having the conversations with her, I still remember everything that she taught me. I will try to use all those skills again and see what am I lacking, because sometimes it's not that you don't have the experience, it's that you're not showing it right. So for example, I've been through 2 interviews in the past month, and they've mentioned that I need to be more specific with some of my designs, right? So I know that's a challenge that I need to show. I need to show specific items in my designs, and I think that I'll get then the next one, because I know how to correct from there, and I know how to improve from there. And I didn't wanted those positions anyway. I just wanted to start getting in shape again for interviews, because I think that's important when you go and show to the right role or to the right company that you're really the person that they want to hire. You have to go prepared, and I just started preparing myself again for that.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. So anything else you'd like to share with your audience and how they can achieve your level of success or be more like what you were able to do?
Well, I think that just listen to everything that Lee says. For me, it was really important to have someone that wasn't my family or my friends telling me that I could do it, because like I said, I felt like I was constantly disappointing them because I couldn't get the job that I wanted. But having her being somebody that you could talk to, and she listens and then talks back to you, that was really important to me. This is not someone who is going to get upset if you don't do your goals, but she's going to tell you that it's not for you to be wasting your time. She won't get upset or mad or anything, but she will tell you the way it is, that you're not really using your energy and skills to achieve your goals. So that's the thing. So I would say, and don't get disappointed, because this role, when I started the interview process, the more I moved through the rounds, the more I realized this is something that I want to do and I want to get this position. So I started getting more involved. But it wasn't the first interview I had. I had other interviews before this one. So if it's not the first interview you have and you don't land the job, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get it. You just improve from there. And sometimes it takes time, and there's more competitive markets out there. It's a global competition. So just prepare.
That's great advice. So thank you so much for taking your time to let us know that it's possible to go from, not being really sure, stuck in a job that you're not really sure of, to getting a job in 10 weeks. So you were one of my fastest success stories for sure. And I'm so glad you were here with me. I really appreciate your help.
No, thank you for helping. It was a really bad time for me back then in April. I really didn't know what to do, because I felt like all doors were closing, but if doors were not closing, I just was not knocking on the right doors.
Wow, that's awesome. Really well said. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Lee.